Hi, and welcome to another Lombardi Live. I'm Don Lombardi, and I've been fortunate enough in my life to interview many musical legends. And tonight, I have that honor once again. He's a legendary drummer and percussionist. We're going to talk about one of the most amazing performances that I've ever seen. It's on Drum Channel, where he also has amazing courses on expanding your rhythmic vocabulary, playing rudiments on congas, and authentic Latin rhythms on the drum set. He's featured in unbelievable jams with Terry Bozzio and Efren Toro, amazing roundtable discussions here on Drum Channel with Thomas Lang, Brandon Buckley, and Kurt Pesquera. We're also going to find out about an important conversation that influenced him that I know will also influence you. Please welcome my dear friend, the legendary Alex Acuña.
It is my honor and my privilege.
My honor, let me tell you. And I've got to say, looking through your Wikipedia, I'm guilty when I hit print because I probably have to sign up and plant a dozen trees in order to get back to the amount of paper that it takes to print out all the works that you've done throughout your life. You know, I thought maybe at the end of our interview I would play Pick a Decade, and I'm just going to point to something and see what you can tell us about that experience. But
sure.
Started back in 1964, and it goes up until last week.
Yes.
It never ends with you.
It's true, yes.
I wanted to touch down on kind of at the beginning, your life in Peru, and what was it like? How were you exposed to Western music? Just interesting for young drummers to hear historically where the music business was back in those days.
Well, in the very small town where I was born, Pativilca, is on the edge of the state of Lima. So it's in the state of Lima. And my father was a musician and a teacher, and my 5 older brothers as well. You know, so music was around my home 24/7. But to answer your question about the music industry in that time, in that little town, because you go to the different provinces around before we got to Lima, my brothers were playing in many different bands. I was commenting with my friend that we played what we call it in the morning. In Espanol, it's the alba. We get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start playing by 6 with a kind of a marching band, you know. So this is playing in the outskirts of Pativilca for the parties of the towns, and we have music, different music for that. We got marchings and then Peruvian music orchestrated for big band, open band, you know, marching bands. And then by 11, we play in the park, you know, and then by 2 or 3 p.m. we play before the soccer match. And then we play in between the soccer match, the 15 minutes. And then after the soccer match finish, so by 5, we go have dinner, play a little bit maybe in the park, and then play in the evening in the club, a sporting club. We play for the dance party by 9 p.m.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Monday, we were home. So that was the environment that I grew up with when I was 10. But music, especially all kinds of music, really was revealed to me by God, of course, because I was too little, too young to really understand where it came from. And my parents didn't play some of the music that I was listening already. It was a man that had a radio. He owned like a kind of a 7-Eleven that had a window. So by noon to 2 p.m., it was 2 hours radio, national radio that was playing all different genres of music from everywhere. You can name it. In those days, definitely Cuban, Peruvian ethnic music, jazz. You know, that's how I knew who Duke Ellington was, and Count Basie. Then, Bill Haley, you know, take it in, you know, and Elvis. And this is 1955, you know, something like that. And classical music. Oh, the radio station play, I think it was Liszt. I'm still looking for that piano piece. Like that. I remember classical. So, not to extend so much what I'm trying to say, music became one genre to me. Music. That was it. You know, Brazilian, South American, you can name it European, you can name it jazz, American, rock and roll. Everything was one thing for me. Since that moment is exactly why I got so immersed in different styles, in genres and everything. And still to today, you know, I actually just record my album is being mixed right now. And in parentheses, I have to say, I didn't even want to do another album anymore because it takes a lot of work to prepare. And so I said, no, Alex, you have to make, I tell you more the story about the record company later. So I did an album, and that's what I do, you know. I play Latin, maybe a classical, semi-classical piece, like Weather Report, you know, did in heavy weather, you know, maybe different rock and this, and a hybrid of many different styles altogether. So just to answer your question, I'm sorry it took so long.
No, it's a beautiful answer, and it certainly typifies your whole career, which continues to be that busy and cover every single genre and type of musical circumstance you could be in. Could be a recording session, could be a jingle, could be a movie soundtrack.
Yes.
And for young drummers out there to embrace all different genres, how important is that to them today, you think?
Well, besides other virtues that come around with the genres and the style of the music and different, you know, all of sounds, cultural sound from so many different parts of the world. I will call it this way. There are so many other things, visions that is implanted in your life, and you start developing and believing and pursuing it at the same time. I will say it will give a long durability to the musician, to a person that really embrace music, not just one style of music. Because maybe there are some styles of music that when you're 70 years old, you won't be able to play anymore. So you have to be able to have other avenues. That's how I envision it, you know. But also, I love to keep healthy, physically, mentally, spiritually, especially, so I can really and practice every day. I really do practice every day. When I say is God gave me the ability to be able to recognize these things, to put it to work in the gift that He gave me, which is music. Because I never went to school to study music until I became a father when I was 22 years old. You know, I just play big bands and everything, reading, whatever. And it's very as a gift. Didn't have a proper education until I arrived to Puerto Rico and I started studying in the conservatory and learning the rudiments at 22. But I was playing already 12 years, drums, you know, and recording and all of that. And came to United States playing drums in United States without knowing the rudiments, you know. So, which I love it because it was very openly, it was really, I said, wow, I didn't know that I didn't know you can do this, I didn't know you can do that. So I'm still doing it every day. Every single bar or every, you know, rudiment is precious to me. It's like I'm just discovering again, you know. I never say, okay, I'm done, I got it, I know, I understand. No. This is challenging me, which I love, and I embrace it. So that's how really, those elements are the important things for young musicians. You have to embrace that gift, that recognizing what is going to be happening with you by maintaining, sustaining, and entertaining at the same time, entertaining yourself and entertaining the people that you're working with, and being thankful to the giver of everything and the creator. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be playing with the LA Philharmonic with Dudamel, at the Walt Disney Center Hall. I called them. I said, I know they've been calling me in and out, in the summer to play with the orchestra. And I said, are you sure I can play this? I had to be honest. Oh, no. Believe me. We're also calling Peter Erskine, you and Peter Erskine, you guys okay, great. No problem. I said, okay. I said, you call him Peter because I know we can pull each other up, something like that. And so, but that's, I'm not glorifying myself, and the music became a star in our lives. And the respect for the music, definitely there are vessels that are in the midst, like artists, other musicians, other, talents that enhance what you do with you. But I think the respect, and especially, the adoration of a beautiful gift is very important to maintain, sustain, and entertain.
We're going to talk about that a little bit more because I've got some specific questions I wanted to ask you and things that I've learned and a lot of the members of Drum Channel have learned, and anybody who has followed you has learned, from your life's journey and your musical journey also. And talking about embracing the rudiments, Alex did a brilliant thing when he came out here and we did a course on playing congas. He said, I'm going to show you how you can apply rudiments to the congas. I said, wow, that's really wild. Yes. And it was a way you took kind of everything that you learned naturally and then figured out what you were doing and said, well, hey, drummers know rudiments. This is kind of an easy way for them to get into close to real authentic Latin rhythms by applying them to the conga drums.
Exactly.
And your journey of musically playing and then kind of learning more about what you were doing, I've heard that from several musicians through the years.
I'm sure.
And it's the opposite of that, which sometimes is more difficult for your young drummers who get so tied up in the mechanics of the rudiments. There's a point where you just have to not even think about what you're playing, but let it flow, which is what you did starting at 10 years old, because you just played what you heard it and you figured out some way to reproduce that sound, right?
Exactly. It's amazing because what you just said, I discovered Tito Puente's top percussion first album recorded in 1955. Somebody was selling it on the street. I said, I didn't even have a record player, but I saw the timbales, the congas, in the picture. I said, wow, this has to be amazing. So then I got a record player, and one of the first tunes is amazing that he's playing with the timbales. He was playing the clave, the rumba clave, ting 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 ting, then he began ting 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 ting, and I thought, because I was just listening and I was guided by what I was listening in that very moment, I thought he was playing in three. Tan, 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 tan. So I thought he was playing in three or in six, not in four. And later on, I'm going to play exactly what I meant about it. So I developed licks around that, what I heard. One, ting, ting, like that. Amazing. And I played that on the Weather Report album on the drums. Vinny called me when he heard the tune. He said, Alex, what are you playing there? And I told him exactly like that. I said, it's a phrase on three that I learned from Tito Puente a long time ago when I found the record. I told him the whole story. sounds amazing because I played on and I got inside, you know, like that, something like that. I mean, I'm sorry, I always going to talk musically, you know, the rhythms, but that's exactly by listening and by not knowing what was it, the metrics and stuff, inspiration comes and they become music. They become phrases. They become that.
You have no choice. That's a beautiful thing about Alex. When he walks into the room, everybody in the room just kind of has a smile because you talk, you walk, you think you are music. It's the fiber of your body. It is your soul. Is that track on YouTube at all, where we could play a little bit of it, the Tito Puente one? Do you know of that?
Oh yes.
If it's on somewhere,
we'll definitely find it and put it on. Yeah.
So it seems like a far leap from everything you've been talking about so far to being in Las Vegas with Elvis Presley, Diana Ross, The Temptations.
That's right.
How did you make that somewhat of a leap from all of this background and all of this heritage that you have to bring it to kind of a pop, classic rock situation?
That's true. You know what happened is from the beginning. I heard already Elvis in Peru. So after I came in 1964 to Los Angeles to play for about in the United States, I was stationed in Los Angeles, but I was going around United States for 10 months with Perez Prado. And then when he left to Mexico, I went to Puerto Rico, mainly because I could not go to Cuba. My mom didn't want me to go to Cuba, for the situations. And this is 60s. 65, I went to San Juan because I wanted to really embrace again the Latin rhythms, the Cuban rhythms, the African descendant rhythms. And so I stayed in San Juan 9 years, but in San Juan, again, listening, I heard this drummer with Aretha Franklin, Bernard Purdy. Rocksteady, second to me, second to me, second. I said, what the, wait a second, what the heck is that? Who is this guy? And then he recorded with Mongo Santa Maria. And I said, I started following him. His time, his precision, the sound. He really was my teacher. So all this is preparation for me to come to Las Vegas and be able to play with Diana, especially that the Detroit sound, and with Elvis, with Elvis I play percussion. Elvis never had a percussionist before. He said, I never had a percussionist, so the conductor said, no, you have to use this guy. Okay, so he said, okay, so he let me play. And then with the Temptations it's amazing because every name that you mentioned, Temptation, Diana, and Elvis, they have a big story behind them. There's a lot of history on that. The Temptations, I was playing drums for Olivia Newton-John. She just came from Australia. So right there, I was the drummer, the house drummer of the international orchestra. That kind of music, And she opened it. She opened the night for the Temptations. So when the Temptation came in, I switched to congas. I wasn't playing drums anymore. But look what happened. Don Elias is in the audience. He went to see the Temptations. In those days, the Temptation had a drummer, Norman Roberts, that played like Tony Williams, but played the funk like Bernard Purdy. So I said, Norman, hey, I met him in Puerto Rico. So I'm playing the congas for the Temptations, Papa was a rolling stone, you know. And Elias says, he was playing drums, now he moves to congas. It's only two guys in history he knew that in New York they talk about it. One is Walfredo de los Reyes Sr., but Walfredo is 7 foot tall.
Yes.
And the other one is Alex Neciosoup. That had to be Alex Neciosoup. So he went and waited for me, and the history of my life changed. Because I started playing jazz with him, with Don Elias. We had a group with Richard Bader on piano. Don't remember who was the bass player. The sax player, amazing, David Littman. So I said, why do you want me to play drums with you? You already play with Tony Williams and Elvin Jones, with Miles. And you want me play drums with you? I said, yeah, they're great player, Alex, but the stuff that you're playing is what we should play. Okay. So I left the Hilton and went to play with Don Elias, and then I switched to Weather Report. There's a history behind that, yeah.
And is there a similar story, as I recall, with Weather Report? You, again, started as percussion?
Yeah. Yeah, because after I finished my touring with Don Elias and David Littman, Jim Perla was the bass player. I went to Las Vegas and I had no job because I quit the International Hilton, you know, and I already had 3 kids, a wife and 3 kids and 3 children, but I had no job.
That was a pretty big move to go back there and just wonder what was going to happen, huh?
Yeah, well, I went back and I knew I was going to find a gig. I mean, you know, that wasn't the situation, but I didn't have the Hilton band, you know. And 5 days later, exactly like that, Joe Zawinul called me. Hey, Alex, would you like to play with the band? I said, who's this? He says, Joe Zawinul. So it changed the story right there. David Littman and Don Elias recommended me to him to play with Weather Report. So he came over, and you know some of the story. He made me walk.
Yeah, we've told that story. You'll see that on some Drum Channel interviews we have, how he actually got that gig. Check that out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And to be on 2 of the most seminal albums of all time, Black Market and Heavy Weather.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, when you, did you know when you were making those that those were going to stand the test of time for the rest of eternity?
No, not really. Not really. Not really. I just assumed that it's a destiny already written, already prepared, you know. I knew that for sure after the fact.
All these amazing career stories that you have and you've told, there was one instance that I alluded to in the introduction a little bit here that was a message that you got from another drummer, the most unlikely person you would think would give Alex Acuña an insight into something that would change his life. But you, in Las Vegas at one point, met Buddy Rich, and he said something to you that I remember you spoke to me once about that was like, and these are the things that we talk about, all of the chops and all the practice and all you need to do to get to the point to where you know how to play the drums, and we try and give you all that foundation here on Drum Channel. But I keep saying this, a lot of these interviews will give you a better lesson than you would get anyplace else, and it's different than when you're getting behind the drum set. It has to do with what you do when you get behind the drum set. But
True.
What was that? How did that come about?
Well, in those days, you know, in Las Vegas, it was the Sands, the Desert Inn, right? The Flamingo, right on the strips right there, right? Now different hotels are there. But I'm talking 64. And I already finished my contract with Perez Prado, but I stayed a month extra here in Los Angeles. I started playing. In those days, they had trios, sometimes duet trios, in the the bowling alleys that were restaurants. So they have, yeah. So I play in a bowling alley in, in East LA. And the singer who play bass, tenor, and sing, he said, Alex, I want to go to Las Vegas. Will you come with me? I said, yeah. He said, Buddy Rich is there. Okay, great. So we drove to Las Vegas. And he spoke some Spanish. You know, he was an American guy, but he understood a lot of Spanish. So he said, translate for me. We wait for Buddy Rich. He came out. I don't know if it was the son or the Serin playing with Harry James.
Harry James, yeah.
Yeah, he was playing with Harry James. He came out, and so she said, Mr. Rich, it's a Peruvian drummer that want to say hi, you know, this and that, very proper. And he looked at me, yes, you have any question? I said, yeah. How do you really develop? You know, I was saying in Spanish, the old guy mentioned it to him. So impeccable and any speed is like dexterity and all of that involved. How is that possible? You know, like that. He said, well, it's so natural.
That was his comment. It's
that
natural.
was his answer. That was his answer. I think that's the only thing I remember too, because that word for me was huge, and it still is. It's a huge word. It's all natural. Yes. Thank you. I still didn't know the rudiments in those days, so, so playing in the natural too.
It had to be natural, and that kind of blends right into what we've spent some time talking about, which is, you know, the interpretation of Buddy Rich's technique, which always comes back to using gravity, following the bounce of the stick, using your body in the most natural way possible, which is what he did.
That's right, the gravity part. How do you discover that by practicing with Fred?
Well, yeah,
Freddie?
for the years, what we're documenting is the years that I spent with Freddie Gruber when he was explaining to me Buddy Rich's technique. So I'm pretty much breaking down exactly word for word the way he explained it to me over those periods of years, which has a lot to do with martial arts, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because Buddy was a black belt, how he used his body, how he was able to follow and motivate the bounce of the stick, staying completely relaxed.
Yes.
And it is very natural. And that's where, if you see a little kid grab a pair of drumsticks, he'll make almost a perfect arm wrist forward motion. He won't be thinking about, I'm holding something and I've got to do something with it.
Right.
And that can get in your mind, that can get in your way. But it'll be interesting, as you'll see on Drum Channel, just a whole series of exercises that kind of go step by step by step the way Freddie broke it down. It's very scientific, but yet it keeps going back to doing it the most natural way possible.
Exactly.
And martial arts, a very important part of your life now, right?
Also, yeah, very much. Very much. It's an everyday thing, just like that. For me, it goes hand to hand, especially with drums and percussion, of course. But with drums, it's very, very much the same mentality, same attitude. You mentioned already, be relaxed and you know, let the body do it. Or let the instrument do it, or let the sticks do it. You know, that all that scientific that is, it's science in a way, but it's science that is in us. How we're going to react about it, how we're going to really take advantage of those facilities that are also natural in us, you know.
What do you think about, in your life experience, playing congas first and hand drums? You're not holding any sticks. So you are in direct connection with the sound source that you're producing. So it is it has to be a very natural flowing way in order for you to produce those sounds. And then the stick becomes just not something you're holding, but just almost like another part of your body. Am I stating that right?
Well, you know, I really didn't ever mix them that way. I know that playing sticks, natural reaction, I would say. And then, but playing the conga, because it's a direct touch to the instrument, to the head, then the reaction is varied, but it's a variety. You can see that a drummer, when he touches the congas, is like not reluctant, but it's a different reaction, you know, because it's something that he's touching, something that he never touched before. He only played it. So it's that kind of a situation. I wish I can explain a little better.
No, I think I understand what you're saying, that there's a difference between you physically being in direct contact with the sound source as opposed to you having something that's having you're not hitting the drum head as a drummer sitting behind the drums. You're allowing the stick to hit the head and bring the sound back out.
Right.
So there's that one extra element. But I'm thinking more in terms of not the end result of producing the sound, but just the body motion. The physical body motion that you would make either playing percussion or playing drums. Seems when I see you play, if the drum set were not there, I would see you almost as if you were hitting conga drums and they were all, you know, in a place where you'd be placing the sticks. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense. Right now, what you just were saying, it brought me the body motions, right? That's for everything. The body motion for drumming, for conga, for martial arts, especially the Kali that we do, the Filipino martial arts, and the other ones, the silat and all that. Anyhow, we can explain a little bit. I know a little bit of that. We can explain, but when we see other students, the way they're reacting and the way they're manifesting the knowledge, including the natural and breathing properly and moving and fitting the right angles. It's like, you know, when I say fitting the right angle, it's also like playing jazz in the right cymbal. It's a place where you play that the stick goes all the time. That's fitting the right place, in the right angle, you know? And that's what I meant. It's also a body motion. It's a body, it's amazing how.
We're putting together a whole show that we'll have with Mike Dubin,
Yes.
a dear friend, on martial arts and how it relates to the sticks and the commonalities, you know, between those two, which is all about body motion.
Yeah, he was talking about that.
And rhythm.
And rhythm. The other day he was talking about that to me, you know, sometimes you see a musician, especially a percussionist or a drummer, and you see the body motion, and that's his personality. That's the way it comes out, how he is expressing his musicianship, you know, the body motion. It's very important, yes.
Speaking about all of this, let's take a look in action at Alex behind the drum set, and I'm going to tell you about this band and my reaction to it when we come back. This is Acuna Hoff Matheson. We'll be right back. Thank you.